This is Nightline, and I'm Liyana Hassanel, news making the headlines. UMNO sacks KJ, suspends Hisham, no Omar, Shahril, and 3 others. And withdrawal of review applications in Batu Puteh case improper, says AG. Good morning. Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim has received a congratulatory message from United States President Joe Biden. The U.S. President also expressed commitment to deepen its relation with Malaysia, including in the areas of digital economy, climate crisis, and energy security. Biden, in his note dated January 24th, also commended Malaysia's inspiring democracy in the 15th general election, GE15, last November. He said as democracies around the world face unprecedented challenges, Malaysia's election demonstrated that democracies can deliver. Datuk Sri Anwar, in his Facebook posting on Friday, wrote that he looked forward to working closely with Biden for the mutual benefit of the people. The act of withdrawing a judicial review application over the International Court of Justice's ICJ decision on the Batu Puteh, Batuan Tengah and Tubir Selatan claim was not in order and improper. Attorney General Tan Sri Idris Harun said this was based on the final report of the Special Task Force on the Sovereignty of the Islets, which was tabled before the Cabinet on January 11th. In a statement on Friday, Tan Sri Idris said the Attorney General's chambers is studying the recommendations made by the Special Task Force, including the issue relating to tort of misfeasance in public office, and will take appropriate action to carry out the Cabinet's decision on January 11th. Nevertheless, the government respected the judgment of the ICJ in the case concerning the sovereignty over Batu Puteh, Batuan Tengah, and Tubir Selatan dated May 23, 2008. He also stressed that issues relating to Batu Puteh are of vital importance as it relates to the strategic interests and sovereignty of the nation. In this regard, the government will continue to ensure that Malaysia's interests and sovereignty are protected and preserved at all times. In 2008, the ICJ ruled that Batu Puteh belonged to Singapore, while sovereignty over the nearby Batuan Tengah was awarded to Malaysia, and Tubir Selatan belonged to the state in whose territorial waters it is located. On February 3, 2017, the Malaysian government filed an application for a review of the ICJ's ruling, but the Pakatan Harapan PH government, under Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamed's leadership, withdrew the application before the case was heard on June 11, 2018. On December 14th last year, Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim called for the claim on Batu Puteh to be reviewed through immediate and more meaningful negotiations with Singapore without jeopardizing bilateral relations. Around 1,000 people marched to the Swedish Embassy in the federal capital to protest the Swedish government's inaction against a far-right politician who burned the Quran in Stockholm last week, which sparked outrage among Muslims all over the world. The protesters started the march from the As Shakirin KLCC Mosque after Friday prayers and arrived in front of an office building at Jalan Mayang Sari, which houses the embassy, at about 2:30 p.m. Also joining the peaceful protest were several leaders from PAS, Bersatu, and Islamic non-governmental organizations who called on Sweden to take action against the politician. Some 100 policemen were also present at the building compound to provide security in addition to maintaining traffic in the area. The organizers of the rally then submitted a memorandum to a representative of Sweden's ambassador to Malaysia, Dr. Joachim Bergstam, who was not present at the embassy. Last Saturday, Rasmus Paludan, leader of the Danish far-right political party Stram Kurs, burned the Quran at a demonstration in front of the Turkish embassy in Stockholm, after Turkey objected to Sweden's participation in the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO. Meanwhile, Malaysia has condemned in the strongest terms the latest despicable act of desecrating the Quran by an anti-Islam extremist and far-right leader, Edwin Wagenseeld, in The Hague, the Netherlands, on Sunday. Wisma Putra, in a statement on Friday, said Malaysia is appalled that such an Islamophobic act has been repeated within the last few days despite global condemnation. The Foreign Ministry also said that Malaysia urged all parties concerned to take the necessary steps to further encourage dialogue, understanding, and to promote the spirit of peaceful coexistence among multi-religious groups and cultures. The country also called upon the United Nations, UN, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, OIC, and the Human Rights Council, HRC, to urgently address this alarming issue. A video on social media on Monday showed Wagensveld, who is the leader of the Islamophobic group Pegida, tearing up pages from a copy of the Quran in The Hague and burning them in a pan. This was the latest provocation following Paludan's act of burning the Quran in Stockholm last Saturday.
Electric vehicles, the future of automotive industry. Their demand, what's the trend like? Are electric vehicles better for the economy? What is the future scope of electric vehicles? What are the business opportunities in the electric vehicle sector? Join me, Muhammad Ahmad Hamdan, for these and more on Money Matters this Saturday at 5 p.m. only on TV3.
The Registrar of Societies, ROS, will meet UMNO representatives next week over the party's General Assembly resolution that the party's president and deputy president post remain uncontested. This was revealed by its Director General, Muhammad Nawardi Saad, in a report by Berita Harian on Friday. However, Muhammad Nawardi said his agency had not received the full report on the matter. He also did not reveal the time and date of the meeting. He said this when confirming that the ROS is currently investigating a complaint lodged by two party members, alleging that the motion passed during the recent 2022 UMNO General Assembly violated the party's constitution. Last Saturday, UMNO Secretary General Datuk Sri Ahmad Maslan said he plans to meet ROS officials to clear the air about the no contest motion for the party's top two posts in the upcoming party elections, which must be held before May 19th.
Untuk mengenal pasti mereka ini supaya dapat dimasukkan dalam.
The fee to hire undocumented migrants in Malaysia under the Labour Recalibration Programme, RTK 2.0, will remain at RM1,500. Home Minister Datuk Sri Saifuddin Nasution Ismail said so far there is no plan to reduce or abolish the fee, and it remains status quo.
Setakat taklimat oleh Jabatan Imigresen kepada saya, proses ini berjalan seperti yang kita hasratkan. Ya, dia tidak ada satu lonjakan permasalahan yang besar yang perlu kita lakukan anjakan dari sudut polisi ataupun sistem kenaan dan sebagainya.
Datuk Sri Saifuddin said this on Friday in response to calls by the Federation of Malaysian Manufacturers, FMM, to review the recalibration fee or compound. On January 18th, Immigration Director General Datuk Sri Khairul Zaimi Daud said that employers can start applying for recruitment of foreign workers through RTK 2.0 from January 27th until December 31st. The 8 sectors allowed to recruit foreign workers are manufacturing, construction, mining and quarrying, security guards, services, agriculture, plantations and foreign made. Last year, the government recorded over 700 million ringgit in revenue through the recalibration program. Selangor Menteri Besar Datuk Sri Amiruddin Shari has hinted that the state election would likely take place after the Hari Raya Aidilfitri celebrations. This after he confirmed that the State Legislative Assembly would not be dissolved anytime soon to pave the way for state polls.
Setakat ni saya boleh bayangkan tidak dalam masa terdekat. Maknanya selepas raya ataupun sebelum raya ni tidak ada pembubaran kalau saya boleh confirmkan di Selangor.
Datuk Sri Amiruddin said this to the media after attending a meeting between the Pahang and Selangor state governments at Wisma Sri Pahang in Kuantan on Friday. Also present was Pahang Menteri Besar Datuk Sri Wan Rosdi Wan Ismail. Previously, Terengganu Menteri Besar Datuk Seri Ahmad Samsuri Mokhtar said he would discuss with Pulau Pinang, Negeri Sembilan and Selangor, which are led by Pakatan Harapan, so that their state elections could be held simultaneously with Kedah, Kelantan and Terengganu, which are controlled by PAS. Only Perlis, Pahang and Perak held their state elections concurrently with the 15th general election on November 19th last year. The Education Ministry, MOE, has adopted an open attitude and is ready to improve all aspects related to education in Sarawak to be in line with the Malaysia Agreement 1963, MA63. Its Minister, Fadli Nasidek, said she had conveyed the commitment to Sarawak Premier Tan Sri Abang Johari Tun Openg when she paid a courtesy call on him at Wisma Bapa Malaysia in Kuching on Friday. She also said education issues in Sarawak are among the MOE's focus, especially on matters related to MA63 and the principle of education for all. She added that her ministry will also prioritize access to education and solving the issue of dilapidated schools in Sarawak. In Sarawak, the ministry had identified 455 dilapidated schools, which are on a scale of 6, and 113 dilapidated schools on a scale of 7. Schools assessed to be on a scale of 6 and 7 refer to those with hazardous building condition, which are unsafe for use. The government will soon introduce Manyrah, which offers meals priced at RM5 and below, specifically for the hardcore poor. Domestic Trade and Cost of Living Minister Datuk Sri Salahuddin Ayub said the menu, which includes rice, chicken or fish and vegetables, will be introduced after the ministry signs a Memorandum of Understanding with the Malaysian Indian Restaurant Owners Association and the Malaysian Tom Yum Operators Association next week.
Tapi kita concern kepada golongan miskin tegar ini yang mereka perlukan makan. Jadi menu ini saya cadangkan dan nampaknya setakat hari ini semua peserta-peserta ini bersedia untuk mewujudkan menu tersebut.
He said this to the media after a walkabout in Bangi on Friday. On the implementation of Op Menu 3.0, which started on January 23rd, Datuk Sri Salahuddin said a total of 614 food premises were inspected nationwide, and 9 compound fines were imposed on premises for offences under the Price Control and Anti-Profiteering Act. The minister also hoped that operators of food premises will obey the law and cooperate with the government to avoid legal action be taken against them. Former Rembau MP Hari Jamaluddin has been sacked from UMNO, while Sembrong MP Datuk Sri Hishamuddin Hussein has been suspended for 6 years by the party. According to a report by Berita Harian, which quoted sources within the party, others who were suspended include former UMNO Information Chief Shahril Sufian Hamdan and Tebrau Division Leader Datuk Maulizan Bujang. The sacking and suspension of the UMNO leaders were decided by the party disciplinary board and announced during the UMNO Supreme Council meeting, chaired by Party President Datuk Sri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi in Manyrah Dato' on Friday night. Meanwhile, UMNO Supreme Council member Tan Sri Noh Omar claims he has been sacked from the party with immediate effect. He claimed that it was done at his own request after his name was listed as one of those suspended for 6 years, as announced by Datuk Sri Ahmad Zahid during the meeting. Currently, media personnel covering the UMNO Supreme Council meeting at the party's headquarters are still waiting for the press conference to begin. It is understood that more names of UMNO leaders, as well as members who have been sacked or suspended, would be revealed during the press conference. Canada appoints first anti-Islamophobia advisor. Details when we return. onto the foreign front. Canada on Thursday appointed its first special representative on combating Islamophobia, a position created following several recent attacks on Muslims in the country. In a statement, the Prime Minister's office said journalist and activist Amira Al-Gawabi will fill the post to serve as a champion, advisor, expert, and representative to support and enhance the federal government's efforts in the fight against Islamophobia, systemic racism, racial discrimination, and religious intolerance. An active human rights campaigner, Al-Gawabi is the communications head for the Canadian Race Relations Foundation and a columnist for the Toronto Star newspaper, having previously worked for more than a decade at public broadcaster CBC. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, in the meantime, praised Al-Gawabi's appointment as an important step in the country's fight against Islamophobia and hatred in all its forms. Japan's government will drop its recommendation to wear masks indoors and downgrade its medical classification for COVID-19. Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, in announcing the matter on Friday, said the changes, effective from early May, will classify the disease on the same level as the flu, down from its current status on par with tuberculosis and SARS. The change means that from May 8th, after Japan's Golden Week holiday period, COVID-19 patients and their close contacts will no longer have to isolate. He added that the move is a step further towards life with corona and will help the country make steady progress on returning to normality in homes, schools, workplaces, neighborhoods, and all facets of life. Previously, masks are ubiquitous in public places and are commonly worn outdoors as well, despite the government having already said they are not necessary outside in uncrowded settings. Even before the pandemic erupted in 2020, many people in Japan used masks when they had a cold or hay fever or to ward off illness in the winter. The Philippine government said Friday it intended to appeal an International Criminal Court (ICC) decision to reopen an inquiry into Manila's brutal anti-drug campaign, which left thousands dead. Announcing the probe's resumption on Thursday, the ICC said its pre-trial chamber was not satisfied that the Philippines is undertaking relevant investigations that would warrant a deferral of the court's investigations. Previously, the Hague-based tribunal launched the inquiry in 2019, but suspended it later that year at the request of the government of then-Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte, who had launched the crackdown in 2016, with Manila saying it would re-examine cases of alleged abuses. Officially, 6,181 people were killed in Duterte's war on drugs, but rights groups say that up to 30,000 may have been killed, some innocent victims, and that corruption was rife among security forces that acted with impunity. In India, police on Friday charged 10 people with homicide in connection with the collapse of a colonial-era footbridge last year that killed at least 135 people. It was reported that in a charge sheet filed in a Morbi court, police in the western state of Gujarat have issued an arrest warrant for the boss of the company that managed the bridge and named him as the main accused. Besides Patel, the more than 1,200-page charge sheet names 2 managers of the Oriva Group, 2 ticketing clerks, 3 security guards, and 2 people from a firm contracted by Oriva to repair the bridge before it reopened to the public. The 9 accused are in judicial custody, while Patel continues to be at large, with the magisterial court issuing an arrest warrant against him on January 13th. The 145-year-old suspension bridge in the town of Morbi was packed with sightseers when it collapsed on October 30th, 2022, plunging hundreds into the Machu River below.
Sports. Youth and Sports Minister Hannah Yeoh has reminded motorsports event organizers that they must comply with safety requirements or be prepared to face the consequences. She stressed that organizers who do not meet the requirements can be fined up to 500,000 ringgit and be blacklisted by the Sports Commissioner's Office (SCO).
Semua penganjuran pertandingan acara sukan bermotor di Malaysia perlu memohon kebenaran dan mendapatkan lesen penganjuran daripada Pejabat Pesuruhjaya Sukan Malaysia sebelum tarikh pelaksanaan.
Yeoh said this at a media conference on the hosting of motorsports events in Malaysia at the Speedway Plus karting circuit on Friday. She added that all motorsports events must be sanctioned and held on tracks that have been inspected and deemed safe for use by the Motorsports Association of Malaysia, MAM. She pointed out organizers who used her ministry's logo without approval would also face action. Yeoh also called on state governments to include an allocation to develop motorsports more systematically and urged motorsport track owners to take into account safety and maintenance costs in their budgets. Malaysia currently has 22 motorsport tracks. However, only 15 have passed safety inspections conducted by MAM. Last year, 2 fatalities occurred within a span of 3 months at the Dato' Sagor track in Pasir Sala in December and Gong Bada in October. Both events were not sanctioned.
On to tennis. 4th seed and 9-time champion Novak Djokovic of Serbia booked his place in a 10th Australian Open men's single final following a straight sets 7-5, 6-1, 6-2 victory over Tommy Paul of the United States on Friday.
The Serbian struggled to find his best level at times during his maiden tour-level meeting with the American, but that did not apply to his trademark razor-sharp returning. Despite dropping 4 straight games from 5-1 to let Paul back into the opening set on Rotlava Arena, Djokovic ultimately converted 7 of 11 break points to move within 1 win of equaling Rafael Nadal's tally of 22 major crowns. Djokovic's 2-hour, 20-minute win set a championship match clash against Stefanos Tsitsipas, who earlier defeated Karen Khachanov 7-6, 6-4, 6-7, 6-3. Sunday's final will also be a straight shootout for number 1 in the Pepperstone ATP rankings, with the winner set to leapfrog Carlos Alcaraz into top spot on Monday.
On to football. The pressure is mounting on Ajax head coach Alfred Schreuder after the Dutch champions equaled the worst run in the league in their 122-year history on Thursday, when they were held to a 1-1 draw by bottom club FC Volendam.
Nothing was going for Schreuder and his men, and on the hour the visitors scored from their first attempt on goal all match. On 60 minutes, Karel Eiting's free kick was headed in off the underside of the crossbar by Volendam skipper Damon Morani. Volendam began to dream of a first win in Amsterdam for 46 years, but Ajax found an equalizer 10 minutes from time when Lorenzo Luca put fellow substitute Mohamed Kudus in on goal to score, but are 7 points behind leaders Feyenoord. Volendam move off the bottom to 16th after picking up a 7th point from their last 4 games.
Babysitter pleads not guilty to hurting 8-month-old baby. This and more after this short break. Welcome back. In Melaka, a babysitter was charged in the Ayer Keroh Magistrates Court on Friday with causing hurt to an 8-month-old baby girl who was placed under her care last year. However, Siti Akilah Shahimi pleaded not guilty to the charge when it was read before Magistrate Mazana Sinin. The 25-year-old accused allegedly committed the offence at a house in Taman Limbongan, Permai on September 7th. The charge under the Penal Code provides for a jail term of up to 2 years or a fine of up to 2,000 ringgit or both upon conviction. The court allowed bail of 2,000 ringgit and one surety and fixed March 14th for case mention. In Pulau Pinang, police busted a drug trafficking syndicate with the arrest of a married couple and their son, along with the seizure of drugs worth over 53,000 ringgit in 2 raids in Seberang Perai Tengah on Tuesday. District Police Deputy Chief Superintendent Muhammad Nur Daud said the first suspect, a 49-year-old man, was nabbed at a playground in Bukit Minyak, which led to the seizure of 7.2 grams of ganja.
Following this, the suspect's 53-year-old wife and their 23-year-old son were detained during a raid on a double-story terraced house in Bukit Mertajam. In the operation, police also seized 4 compressed blocks of ganja weighing 1.3 kilograms and 2.2 kilograms of heroin, as well as 2 motorcycles. It was believed that the syndicate had been active since January last year, while the drugs seized were meant for distribution in the Seberang Perai Tengah district. The trio tested negative for drugs, but 2 of them had previous criminal records, including drug-related offences. All of them have been remanded for a week to facilitate investigations under the Dangerous Drugs Act.
And that wraps up Nightline. Let's take a look as Taiwan's parks filled with visitors to catch a sight of the cherry blossom trees that decorated the scene with beautiful pink flowers. With that, I'm Hassanel, and you have been watching Nightline. Take care, Malaysia.